Hey there, all you SAT takers. It's the SAT Math Prepmaster back to explain questions 11 through 20 from the actual 2018 October Math SAT in detail. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, and to view all my videos, go to my website at www.educatedway.com. Do it the right way, the educated way. Number 11. The table above shows two lists of numbers. Which of the following is a true statement comparing list A and list B? It talks about the two lists. The means are the same and the standard deviations. Well, to find the mean, it's the same as the average or the arithmetic mean. We add up the numbers and divide by how many items there are. So for list A, if we check out the mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we add those together, 1 and 2 is 3, 3 and 3 is 6, 6 plus 4 is 10, 10 plus 5 is 15, plus 6 is 21. So we added the list A, we get 21, and we'll divide by the 6 numbers there. And we will get 7 over 2, which is 3.5. Now we're going to look at list B and do the same thing. And we have 2 plus 3 is 5. 5 plus 3 is 8. 8 plus 4 is 12. 12 plus 4 is 16. And 16 plus 5 is the same 21. And now we have the same mean of 7/2. So the means are the same. What on earth is the standard deviation? Well, some of you obviously know what the standard deviation is, but it's another statistics question. Thank you, SAT. They love statistics. The standard deviation is the spread of the data. What that means is we know that the mean is 7/2 or 3.5. The one with the smaller standard deviation would have numbers that are all closer to 7/2, and the one with the larger standard deviation, the larger spread, would have numbers further away from the standard deviation. But this question doesn't ask for which one has a larger standard deviation. It just says that they're different, and that would be answer choice A. The means are the same and the standard deviations are different. Just to give you an idea, list A has a larger standard deviation because the numbers are spread out more. These are all more close to the 3.5 because the 2 and the 5, because the 1 and the 6 here are further away, basically, in the 5 and the 2. You get it. Okay, so this is a level of difficulty, this question, from 1 to 10 based on students' ability to get the question correct without guessing. I would say this is a level 7. Just because I don't feel that many students really understand the concept of the standard deviation. Let's go to number 12. Number 12. A book was on sale for 40% off its original price. If the sale price of the book was $18, what was the original price of the book? Assume there is no sales tax. Well, looking at the answer choices, you can really answer a question like this quickly. Looking at the answer choices, if you took 40% off the original price of each one of the answer choices, it could only be answer choice C or D because those are the only ones that are actually larger than the $18. And if you took, for the $45, half of $45 would make it like $22.50. So 40% of it, it has to be answer choice C. That's the only one that makes sense because half of 30, so 50% off of $30 would be $15. But let's look at this algebraically. All right, so if the book is 40% off the original price is 100%. If we take 40% off of 100%, we're left with 60%. So basically 60% of the original price 60% of is times 60% of the original price. We'll call the original price P. 60% of the original price equals $18. Now to solve for P, just divide by 0.60. Both sides of the equation. And obviously, calculator not needed here. 6, that's 3. The only one that goes exactly 3 here has to be the $30. These are some of the shortcuts you could see on a test like this, where you don't have to figure that out. You know that 6 goes into 18 exactly 3 times. There's a bunch of zeros here. There are no decimals, so it has to be $30. It's the only possible answer choice. I think that most students will take the answer choices, plug those in, and take 40% off of those to get the sale price. That would be another way to do this. So if you took the $30 that way, if you took the 30 and that were one of your guess and checks, you take $30 and you take 40% off of the price. I think this is how most students are going to do this. You would get $12 off of this. And then $12 off of 30 would be 30 minus 12, which this also works fine. But again, students, this is a time test, and if you want to ace this test, the faster way is the better way, and that would give you the original $18 that's necessary. Depending on how you did that one, fairly could be semi-difficult. It all depends on what route you took. I will say that is a level 6. Students do not usually like dealing too much with percentages. Let's go to number 13. So for number 13 and 14, we have a chart here. Looks like a bar graph with weeks after initial treatment, and number of insects is the y-axis here. It says 3 colonies of insects were each treated with a different pesticide over an 8-week period to test the effectiveness of the 3 pesticides. Colonies A, B, and C were treated with pesticides A, B, and C respectively. Each pesticide was applied every 2 weeks to one of the 3 colonies over the 8-week period. The bar graph above shows the insect counts for each of the 3 colonies 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8 weeks after the initial treatment. So let's look at the questions here. Number 13 asks, which of the following colonies showed a decrease in size every 2 weeks after the initial treatment with pesticide? Colony A, B, and C, 1, 3, 1 and 2 only, 1, 2, and 3. So we want the ones that decrease every week after the initial treatment. Okay, so let's look at the colony A in the dark gray area. Starts at about 80, it looks like. Let's see here. Here we go. Starts at about 80, goes to like 50, then like 30, looking here, and then like 25. So that one works. So that one decreases every time. Let's go to colony B. Starts there, decreases a little, decrease, decrease, decrease. Okay, that check mark there. Let's check colony C. Well, that one doesn't work. There's an increase right there. Then it decreases, decreases, decreases. Answer choice, let's see. Colonies A and B both work. 1 and 2 only. Answer choice C. Don't really love the wording of this question. If you read it incorrectly, you may think that all 3 colonies A, B, and C work because the initial treatment may not count because it says after the initial treatment. But in those 2 weeks, it's actually increasing after the initial treatment. I don't know if that makes any sense, but hopefully it does. 1 and 2 only. That's a going to say it's a level 6. I think some students are going to get tired reading that whole story with that chart, and they're not going to understand what's going on comprehensively, but many of you will get that correct, hopefully. Let's go to number 14. Of the following, which is closest to the ratio of the total number of insects in all 3 colonies in week 8 to the total number of insects at the time of initial treatment? So we want a ratio here, so of the total number, week 8. Looking at the chart here, the graph. Looks like we have about 20, 30, 20 and 10 here, right? 30 plus 50, about 80 or so. If we add these up on the 8th week here. 80. And we're going to set up a ratio to the initial here. Let's look at the initial. That's week 0. So we have 80 plus about 65 is 145. We've got about 200, I'd say. So that's our ratio, about 80 to 200. We could reduce that to obviously 8/20ths, right? Which is 4/10, which is 2/5. Okay, answer choice A. Level of difficulty. I would say that's about a level 6. From 1 to 10 based on students' ability to get the question correct without guessing. These other ratios are very close here, the 3 to 5, the 1 to 4 if you didn't count correctly, or if you didn't know how to set up a ratio. Any ratio is just A to B. You could set it up as A to B with the 2 dots, or you could do it as a fraction like this. Number 15. A right circular cone has a volume of 24 pi cubic inches. If the height of the cone is 2 inches, what is the radius in inches of the base of the cone? This is one of the given formulas in front of the SAT booklet, where the volume of a circular cone equals, oh, there it is. That's pi r squared h over 3, where r is the radius and h is the height. So let's fill in our given information and work backwards to find the radius for this question. So we have pi r squared h equals over 3, equals 24 pi. And we're given the height, so it's really pi r squared times the height, which is 2 over 3 equals 24 pi. And now we just have to solve for r. Let's cross multiply. Anytime there's an equal sign between 2 fractions, well, let's make that a fraction by putting it over 1. Anytime we cross multiply, if we have an equal sign between 2 fractions, we cross multiply. So we have 3 times 24 pi, which is 72 pi. That equals 2 pi r squared. 2 pi r squared. Divide by pi, divide by pi, divide by 2, divide by 2. 36 equals r squared. Take the square root of both sides. 6 equals r. Radius is 6. Answer choice B. Level of difficulty. 1 to 10 based on students' ability to get the question correct without guessing. 1 being easiest, of course, and 10 being the most difficult. This question is a level 3. It's working backwards from a formula given at the beginning of the test. Let's go to number 16. In 2015, the population of City X and City Y were equal. From 2010 to 2015, the population of City X increased by 20%, and the population of City Y decreased by 10%. If the population of City X was 120,000 in 2010, What was the population of city Y in 2010? Wow, that's a monster. Whoa. All right, I'm going to set up a chart here so this is a little easier to digest. Okay, so we have X and Y here. City X and city Y. And we have 2010 and 2015. So the only given piece of information from the story of the actual number is the city population of city X was 120,000 in 2010. So I'm going to put 120,000 in this box here. Now, what we're trying to find is what was the population of city Y in 2010. So this is the box we're trying to find, but we have to find these other boxes to calculate the answer. So in 2015, we know X increased from 2010 to 2015 by 20%. So we have to do a 20% increase of 120,000. So the easiest way to do that would be to multiply 120,000 times 1.2. 1.2, 1 being itself, and the 2 is the 20%. That's just a shortcut that will give you the 144,000. And that would be right here. Now you could also make this a two-step process, and that's what most students like to do. Let's do the two-step version. What I mean by that is the 20% of 120,000 times 20%. That gives you 24,000. Then you would simply add that to 120,000 and get your 144,000. Same way, this is just a little slower, but you have your calculator. All right, now let's calculate the value of Y in 2015. It says that the value of city Y, the populations of city Y are the same in 2015. So we know that this is also 144,000. Now we can work backwards and find our answer, because city Y from 2010 to 2015 decreased by 10%. Decreased by 10%. So we have to have a number here that decreased by 10%. To decrease a number by 10% obviously has to be bigger than 144,000, just by a little bit. Obviously the answer choice here is going to be this one, answer choice C. But we could check it out or do this algebraically. 100%. You have 10% off of that. That's 90%. So 90% of the population, call it P, equals 144,000. Divide by 0.90. Divide by 0.90. And you'll get 160,000. Answer choice C. That's a difficult question. Definitely the most difficult one on the test. I felt the rest of the test was simple until we got here. I'm going to give this one a level 9. I'm sure if you picked each one and worked backwards, it'd be easier doing the math, but it would take forever. Let's go to number 17. The volume of a sphere is given by the formula V equals 4/3 pi r cubed, where r is the radius of the sphere. Which of the following gives the radius of the sphere in terms of the volume of the sphere? Well, this one is just what they call a literal equation. You just have to manipulate the equation and get the r by itself. We want the radius by itself. So let's manipulate this equation, get r by itself. First of all, let's multiply by 3/4, the reciprocal of 4/3. Those would cancel. So we have 3v over 4 equals pi r cubed. Let's multiply both sides of the equation by 1 over pi. Oops, there we go. Now we get 3v over 4 pi equals r cubed. These would cancel. Now we would take the cube root of both sides. Let's go over here. Cube root of both sides, we have 3v over 4 pi equals r cubed. Taking the cube root of both sides, r equals the cube root of 3v over 4 pi. Just switch the sides to match the answer. That would be answer choice. Looks like D. Pretty easy question. Level of difficulty, I'll say about a level 6. Involved the cube root there. Let's go to number 18. Number 18. The table above shows the results of a survey in which tablet users were asked how often they would watch video advertisements in order to access streaming content for free. Based on the table, which of the following is closest to the probability that a tablet user answered always, given that the tablet user did not answer never? All right, we have another probability question. And this one wants to know the probability that we answered always, or a tablet user answers always, given the tablet user did not answer never. So we're going to cross off never, knowing that they did not use never. So out of this, what is the probability of always? So the easiest way to do this is to add these percentages up. We have 24.3. You could do this on your calculator in this section, but I'll do it by hand. 13.5 and 30.9. Add those together. We get, boop, boop, 68.7. So now we want to divide the always, the 30.9, divided by 68.7. Now, if you look at your answer choices, they're kind of spread out pretty far here. You can almost estimate what that would be, but let's just divide here. You can do that on your calculator. So 30.9 divided by 68.7, and you'll get 0.449, and that is closest to 0.45. 0.449, closest to 0.45. Answer choice C. And not crazy difficult question, but not too easy either. From a level of difficulty from 1 to 10, I would say that is a level 7. Let's go to number 19. In the equation above, A is a constant. The graph of the equation in the xy plane is a parabola. Which of the following is true about the parabola? Well, this equation is in what they call vertex form, and vertex form is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k, where the vertex is hk, A, if it is positive, the graph would go upward. If A is negative, the graph would go downward and would have a maximum. So if it goes upward, it has a minimum. If it goes downward, the graph would have a maximum. In this case, we see this is negative here. So that graph would have a maximum point right here. And this point, this maximum point, is called the vertex. And to find the vertex, It's HK. Vertex is HK. Here's the vertex down here, HK. Now to find HK, notice this is x minus h. This is x minus 3, so h equals 3. And this A letter here, which they say is a constant, which means it's a number, to throw you off completely. That's a number. So that is the y value of the vertex. That's usually some number when you have the exact vertex form normally. So 3a is your vertex, and that is the maximum point. So it's a maximum and occurs at 3a. Answer choice D. Level of difficulty, I'd say level 7.5. Now, students, you may not agree with my levels of difficulty, and that's okay. Let me know. Say, hey, that's not a level 7.5. I think that's much easier. That's a level 6, and you might be right because it's all just an educated guess for me on the levels anyway. Let me know in the comments section. I can always change the level. Say, hey, Prepmaster, you're nuts. You don't know what you're talking about. Number 20. The maximum value of a data set consisting of 25 positive integers is 84. A new data set consisting of 26 positive integers is created by including 96 in the original data set. Which of the following measures must be 12 greater for the new data set than for the original data set? Notice that it must be exactly 12 greater for the original, for the new data set right here, must be exactly 12 greater. Now, let's look at the answer choices. One that makes total sense here. The answer, I'm going to go right to the answer first and then explain why the other ones are not exactly correct. Let's talk about this. The range is the answer. Let's go backwards here on this one. It's very difficult to explain. So the range, if we have a set of data here, a group of numbers, they're all integers. Integers, remember, are everything on the number line, no fractions. So they could start from 1, but we do not know what the integers are. We just know that the first group of integers, the highest integer is 84. And the second group of integers, we'll draw below here, is 84, and there's a 96 in there. So the highest number on the second group is 96. And there are several numbers in here. There's 24 different numbers in here. And there are 24 different numbers here. I'm not going to write all the lines, but those represent all the numbers. Okay, so the range is going to be the highest number minus the lowest number. So the highest number minus the lowest number. Notice that both the lower numbers have to be the same number, and the higher number is 12 larger for the second set. It's greater by 12, so that means this range is going to be 12 larger exactly. So that's the answer. The mean, when adding this number, will increase. It won't increase by quite 12 because there's several numbers. We don't know exactly what it's going to increase. The median, remember, is the middle number. That's if we cross them all off and go from each side from greatest to worst. The median is not going to change that much. It's going to change a little bit. It could change depending on where the numbers are based again, but it may not be exactly 12. The question asks for must be 12. The standard deviation, most of you haven't studied that much with standard deviation. Standard deviation is the spread of the data. Most of you don't use the formula for this. You use the calculator. So standard deviation is a whole nother thing. Spread of the data does not change by exactly 12. It is the range, highest minus lowest. Pretty difficult question. I'm going to give it a level 8. Thank you, students, for watching. Thank you, Hanu Dixit, for your Motel Rock. Please subscribe to my channel, and to watch all my videos, go to my website at www.educatedway.com. And students, when you take your SAT, make sure you crush it. ACT, SAT, Math Prepmaster, I'm out.